Good evening, seventh grade families. Welcome to seventh grade virtual open house. I'm Mrs. Meskimen. I'm the social studies teacher on this team. And I'm going to introduce all of my other fabulous colleagues on the seventh grade team.
Hi everybody, I'm Mrs. Gorka. I teach seventh grade math. Hi, I'm Mrs. Grunwald. I teach seventh grade ELA.
Hello, I'm Mr. Katsenis. I teach seventh grade science.
Hi, I'm Mr. Marinello. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade STEM.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Stepanuk. I teach physical education.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Mandra, and I'm the 7th grade case manager.
Hi, I'm Miss Ortman, and I'm seventh grade special education. All right, so we are going to start tonight by sharing a slideshow with you. We are asking if you have any questions to just put those in the chat, and we'll take a look at those at the end of the slideshow. So we're going to turn it over to math and start out here, and Mrs. Gorka. Oh, and here are our email addresses. This is the best way to communicate with us throughout this year. We are in different rooms when we are in person, so we are not able to check email as quickly as we'd like to. So if you need something quickly addressed, I would say email is the best way to communicate with us. And this is the whole team, everybody's email here. Turning it over to math.
All righty. Do you know why part of this didn't show up? We'll get this part going here in a moment, but we can start here with units of study. This is what we're going to be working on this year. Everyone is working on integers right now, and then we'll work our way kind of through here throughout the year. We're going to get as far as we can given that time. Materials, the students will need a math binder. We created this in person that first week of school. So they should hopefully still be using that. We'll reference that, or I do reference that in each of the lessons as well. If you or the students have any questions on the math binder, or if you want to set up one of those at home if you haven't already, please let me know and I'll let you know kind of what the setup for that would be. We like to see them doing math in pencil so that they can definitely make mistakes and go back and change those, and grading pens to review our work. A charged iPad that's remote and in school. We'll be using them very often, and headphones. I've had a couple questions about workbooks. Those are in the works, so we're hoping to get those in soon, and then hopefully we'll have some information so you can pick those up. Until then, though, everything is posted in the Google Classroom. I'll usually do a PDF so the students can screenshot that and they can show their work in some sort of drawing app, or they can print it on their own, or just show work on a separate sheet of paper. For additional practice, IXL is always available to them. If you need any login information for that, please shoot me an email. But there's a ton of practice in there. I will assign it to them at times or have some recommendations for them. But if you ever at any time need any additional practice, just let me know and I can kind of tell you which sections would be the best. We also have our textbook online. In the Google Classroom, there's a video on there on how to access it, but it has student videos, extra examples, lots of good resources there. We haven't talked about this yet, but this will be a resource as I know some of the students really enjoy it, which will be Prodigy. So that's more information coming out soon, but it's kind of more game-based and a way for the kids to do a little bit of practice. My classwork section isn't showing up here, but generally, and I'll share this slide with you guys as well, what it said was that everything will be posted in the Google Classroom, especially now, but even in person, that's kind of our general or main place for all the information. Due dates, those are going to be in there as well. So I'm trying to make sure those are as up to date as possible. So if you ever need to know when anything is due, that's going to be the location. There's always something to do in there in the remote setting that we have now. So each day your student should be checking in to seeing what assignments they have to complete for that day. And the due dates will be on there as well. If you would like to be added to the Google Classroom, so like invited, like kind of as a parent of the student and get notifications and be able to see that, let me know and I can add you on there as well. And I think that was it for my little classwork section. Like I said, I can email this out and share it as well since that little part is missing. All right, ELA is up next. Oh, there's your classwork stuff. Oh, there it is. Okay, moving on to ELA. I'm Mrs. Grunwald. I teach 7th grade ELA. So to start with our thematic units, we had just started our first unit a couple days ago called Generations. It's basically where the kids are going to be learning about how different generations learn from and interact with each other. Then we'll be moving on to, it's called A Starry Home, which is about space. Then on to Turning Points, People and the Planet, and then Facing Adversity. So we'll have 5 thematic units that we go throughout the year. All of these units integrate reading, writing, speaking and listening, grammar, all of those things. So looking forward to that. As far as materials, always a charged iPad. Even if we're in person, we do a lot of the work on an iPad, so it's important that they bring that to school charged every day. 2 composition notebooks. One's going to be for reading, one's going to be for writing. Headphones, just in case we have a video or something that we need to watch in class. Pens, pencils, Post-it notes, and highlighters. For Google Classroom, we are using a new website this year. It's basically a digital textbook. It's called Savas website, or Savas Realize. There have been some problems lately with students not being able to load the website. Mrs. Smith has been awesome and she's been fixing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff for the website. So we're kind of hoping by the end of tonight, all of those problems will be fixed. I did send out an email just about an hour ago. If a student is using Chrome, we just ask that they switch to Safari because I guess Safari works better with this website. So hopefully that's helpful. And then lastly, for Membeing, that's our vocabulary online program. So it's 45 minutes per week total, 3 different days, and then at least a 65% accuracy or better for the training. And then I think that's it for ELA. And we're on to science next.
Okay, so Mr. Katsenis, I'm teaching science, so we'll just get right into it. The units of study, there's 4 big units of study right now. Well, the first one is matter and its interactions. That's what we're studying right now, where it's basically chemical reactions, endothermic and exothermic energy we'll be discussing. And then there's energy, there's motion and stability, and then we kind of wrap it up with molecules and organisms. So those 4 main units will pretty much take you out through the course of the school year. So that'll be pretty exciting. Materials that students will need every day are pencils or pens, notebook, paper, and mainly, just like you've probably been hearing from the other 2 classes, charged iPads and headphones are pretty much a must. We try to keep things online, especially for a year like this, where we're in and out of school. If they're in tune with their iPad, moving in and out of remote should be an easy transition for your son or daughter. Google Classroom, a lot of the things that the students need, you can find it at the Google Classroom. I have digital resources there, so I'm not really passing out any papers. I just kind of print it, shoot it to the Google Classroom. Their digital notes are in the Google Classroom, lab write-ups, if they ever need one, it's in Google Classroom. They even have how-to videos in Google Classroom, so if they're absent, maybe they missed a lecture, maybe they want to go back and listen to something, there's a how-to video that they can listen to and kind of help them with the curriculum. I have my Zoom link when we're in remote in case it's ever lost. And then, I post classroom announcements in that Google Classroom as well. Some other resources, your son or daughter might be using are IXL, Pear Deck. Pear Deck is like our online interactive notebook. There's mini quizzes, there's homeworks on it, there some videos on there, some notes, graphic organizers, there's everything that they need is on their Pear Deck. And it's like the first year the kids are using it and they seem to really love it. And then we have Explore Learning, which is kind of like a virtual lab. Students can manipulate the lab. They can answer questions on Explore Learning. I think a lot of them call it gizmos. So we'll be using those as well. So quite a bit for science, but that's all I got for you guys. So we're going to pass this on to Mr. Marinello and his wonderful STEM class.
Hi, I'm Mr. Marinello, and I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade STEM here. The course for the 7th graders is different from last year. This year, they will be doing what's called green architecture through the Project Lead the Way website. This curriculum is about designing green architecture, so sustainable architecture, architecture that uses clean energy. So in this course, they will use CAD software to design buildings. They will learn how to measure, calculate square footage, and learn to build these different structures. And resources for this class, they will use the PLTW website. I will email this out to you guys because anything that's underlined in this slide has a link to it that you can use. I'll put that in my Google Classroom. Google Classroom is what I'll be using to pretty much give all the work and any updates to the students to try and keep it as streamlined as possible. Whether we're in school or we're remote, they'll be able to access everything from there. And just like said before, if you are interested in being in the Google Classroom, just send me an email and I can make it so you can have access. Also, we'll be looking at science news for students. It's science articles about new things in technology and science that are being discovered for students. You can take a look at that website as well. My materials are pretty easy. I have a STEM notebook that's a graph paper notebook. I provide that to the students. They need pens and pencils and a charged iPad. I hope they enjoy this course, and I'm ready to move it on to social studies.
Okay, everybody, I am going to do the social studies part of this. If you've had any siblings come through Independence, you may have recognized my name as an ELA teacher, and I have been doing ELA for a very long time here at Independence, but I made the jump over to social studies this year, and I'm really looking forward to it. Our theme for this year is History Has Its Eyes on You. So if you are a Hamilton fan, we are going to try to use a lot of that as we talk about the Constitution and how our country came to be. So I tell the kids a lot when you look at the course goals here. One of the big things that I want them to do is learn and connect with history and be able to apply that to today's world and make some connections, find relevance in the world and their life today, and of course have fun and enjoy coming to class. We're going to take them on some adventures this year. We're going to go some places, virtually, of course, but continue their learning outside of our classroom walls. And one of the big pieces of the social studies class is to develop that civics mind, a sense of what it means to be civically responsible citizen, and of course, taking history and using it and applying it to today. So my expectations are just to have a positive attitude, be willing to learn, believe in yourself, do not give up, and of course, ask questions. Materials for my class, same as my colleagues, charged iPad, please. We started a 3-ring binder before we went remote, so I'd love for the kids to continue to use that. Some dividers with some loose leaf paper, Post-its would be great, headphones, art supplies, and highlighters. Method of communication, I post everything in the Google Classroom and I'm available by email. When we are in remote, obviously with Zoom, I encourage the kids to come into the office hours and also to attend my lessons each day. If they're having any questions, concerns, anything, feel free to email me and I will take care of that for them. But Google Classroom is the place to go. I will say that email, like I said in the beginning, is the best way to communicate with us. We are in different rooms this year. We're not in our home base room that we normally are. So to be able to check our phones and our voicemails very often is a little more difficult. So email would be the preferred method of communication with us. And to wrap up for social studies, the units of study this year, we're going to do a lot of geography. We're going to look at the Illinois and Chicago history. We're going to do some exploration, some colonization, American Revolution, Black history. We're going to do some novel studies. We will have an IJHS museum, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. We're going to work with current events, civics, and some financial literacy as well. As you guys know, the Constitution is a big part of the 7th grade curriculum, and there will be a final test given at the end of the year, but I promise you, as long as they stick with me, they're going to do great on that. I also have a 7th grader at home who is also doing the Constitution this year, so he's super excited that his mom's teaching social studies this year. I am here for you guys if there's anything that you need, and I look forward to a really great year with all of you. Again, history has its eyes on you. I'm going to turn this over to PE now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ms. Stepanyuk, or I usually just have the students call me Miss S. I teach physical education here, and I'm just going to go over a few things about PE in person and as well as remote PE. So I'll just start with in person. Most days we're going outside. As long as it's not raining, we will be outside. So that being said, it might be hot, it might be kind of chilly some days. So students should dress appropriately for the weather as well as appropriately for activities. This year we cannot use any equipment in PE, so it will look very different from the other years. So we're also not changing, so students should be wearing comfortable clothes as well as shoes that they can exercise in. On Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, students will do something we're calling a lap day, which is walking or running around the track. And they will have a lap goal for each week that they should meet, and they can choose whether they want to walk or run to meet that goal. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays will be kind of like a fitness day. So whether we're doing cardio exercises or strength, maybe yoga, maybe dance, that will be Tuesday, Thursdays, and that will be outside as well. And then if we do have to stay inside, we will do an activity similar to fitness or cardio workouts, dance, something like that indoors. And we will have to wear our masks and be socially distanced while we do that. And then just as going outside, we cannot use any equipment. So PE will be, as I mentioned before, a little different this year. And then going into remote PE, Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, we have a workout that we do live together on Zoom. And then to supplement that workout, there's an assignment, usually a reflection, to go with the workout that we did in class together. And then both of those could be found on Google Classroom to reference. And then students should come to office hours on Wednesdays or Fridays during their scheduled PE time so we can answer any questions, or I can be reached through email as well, which was on the first slide. Thank you.
Okay, and at this time, we are going to address any questions that have come up in our discussion tonight. So we're going to switch over from the sharing, and we're going to take a look and see if there are any questions that were generated while we were going through our slideshow. Okay, it appears that we do not have any questions in the chat. We'll leave it open for another minute or so. If there's anything that you wanted to ask, feel free to type your message in the chat, and we'll be sure to answer any questions. Again, if you don't feel like asking the question here on this format, feel free to email the team or email any of us individually. As we said before, we're really looking forward to working with your students this year. This is a great year because we're all together as a 7th grade team, and this is a big, kind of crazy year, but we're also looking forward to some really good times as well. A question is, are office hours required check-ins each day? I would say that students should check in with us. They are not required though. I think what we should definitely try to get the kids into the habit of doing is checking in when they need help. If they feel like they're in a good spot and they're independently working, then I would say they don't have to come into the check-in. We are checking over work and sending work back to students. So kids may want to check their Google Classroom to see if there are any revisions that need to be made. And those are good times to do those kinds of things. Office hours are a great time to get some more one-on-one time versus with the whole class. So I hope that answers your question for that.
Something about ELA.
Please, yes, Mrs.
So
Grunwald.
for ELA, our office hours are built into the hour that we see the students. So our lessons usually go for about 20 to 30 minutes. And so that leaves some time at the end of class for students to stay on in the Zoom, and then they can get some direct help immediately after the lesson instead of waiting for office hours. So I know for ELA, those office hours are built into the hour that we're with each other each day.
And that is true. I will say with all the classes, excuse me, the lessons are not going for a full hour. So the lessons will happen and then there is plenty of time for kids to stay on and work. We've had several students that just, they turn their camera off, but they're on there just in case as they start to do their work, they have questions. And the office hours is just an extra kind of backup to that, because we certainly know, they get out of our class, they start doing something and then they have a question, and that's after class is over. So we want to have those office hours to allow for time to have conversations and get those one-on-one questions. If you have a question, feel free to post them in the chat. We'd be happy to answer them. Again, if you're not wanting to answer or ask your question here, feel free to email the team and or teachers individually. Again, we can't stress enough that email is our preferred method of communication. We'd really like it if you could email us, being that we're going to be in different classrooms and we don't get to be in our homeroom that we used to be in, where our phones and our extensions are. Are there any questions on the chat? Well, if there aren't any questions, on behalf of the team, I'd like to thank you for taking your time out today to come and join us. I know it's kind of a rainy, yucky day, but we all came together, wanted to make sure that we were here to explain what the 7th grade year will look like. This is going to be an awesome year, parents, I promise you. Even though it seems like we're up and down and all over the place, it's going to be a great year. We thank you for coming. Contact us at any time. Thanks so much, parents. Have a great night.